Good evening. I think the best part of the evening is over. The performance of the wonderful little boys, right from the choir till the last performance, is done and out with. So the rest everything that these guys have said are just decoration of words. I'm not a big orator. I'm not a big speaker. I have no message to give. I'm just an ordinary man, thrown into at times extraordinary situations in life. I like to say a few things though, as I'm called in here. But the moment I stepped into this huge campus, I've never seen a campus like this in my entire life. I never studied in a campus like this before. My school was actually too sharp, But I lived in a campus much bigger in terms of space and with lots of trees and lots of life and lots of entertainment around us. That has changed my life, and I'm going to come to that in a little while. Other than that, a lot has been said about me in terms of born in a poor family, walked to school, studied under kerosene lamp, and blah 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 blah. Who made those things just happen. I want to say that not so much glory to be attached to all those things, because I believe 80% of Indian life is still remain at that. The villages of India, which Mahatma Ji has said is the soul of India, is still at that level where I was from, or I've been through. In a way, that is what made me. The strength that my life in the villages where we grew up, where we had no fixed agendas, where we had no competitive exams, where no one asked us in the morning to go to school. We just got up and went to school because we didn't have anything else to do. We went to the school not to study. I don't remember studying in school. I went to school to play with friends. I also went to the school because they used to give us food, one-time food in the afternoon. I also remember I was one of the most privileged person. When they talk about me, they said I was one of the underprivileged person in my school. It is actually not. I was one of the most privileged person in the school. I used to get opportunity to go to watch movies once in a while because my mother's family house and my father's family house were far away, where they had electricities and cinema halls. So my job when I come back to my school was to tell stories to my friends. From my home to the school was almost about 6 kilometers walk every day. I used to tell them stories. And morning one group and evening another group. It used to go on for many days. And I got bored after a couple of narrations, and I started adding my own stories, my own little additions to the whole story that I've seen. Probably my sense of narration has come from that, little walks that we have done in those times. Such a boy, who just, who I don't remember studying until my 10th class actually. I happened to get the first class in my 10th standard, and then my mother wanted to me to be a doctor, so I also tried my hands at MBBS, and I didn't like it and I left it, and then I fell in love with physics. I studied in my regional language. Probably in today's university students of the school may not understand what I'm talking about, because you right from the junior KG onwards you start studying in the medium which is spoken by most of us today, and which is the official language of this country. And so you may not have faced what I have faced, so it's probably better to talk about that. So till the 10th standard I studied in a medium which is Malayalam. Then I gone into what we call the pre-degree, which is the 11th and 12th standards, where I come across English as a medium of language, and because I chose science to study, most of it was alien to me, what the teachers were talking. So there was a certain amount of effort that I have taken in my initial college study to get familiar with the language that I was studying. That it went by, and one thing I learned there, anything that I ran away from in my life, one way or the other, it came back to me. Because when I was in the school, I hated mathematics, I hated Hindi, I hated geography. 3 languages, I just couldn't get a grab of things. So I landed up, in choosing what we call a second group, which is basically science. You don't have to study mathematics. I thought I have escaped to mathematics. Then I chose language studies as Malayalam, so I escaped to Hindi. After my 12th, like I said, I fell in love with physics. So I chose BSc Science and Physics. Then the 10th standard mathematics knowledge, you went into studying physics, then you have to study physics at the degree level. So I tried to run away from mathematics. I came back to have to study mathematics. And the first year of my degree, I got 2 marks from the mathematics. And I thought, you can't be a good physicist becoming by not knowing mathematics. So my struggle was to learn mathematics. And the following year, I scored something like 78 marks out of 80 in mathematics. And I fell in love with physics, and I imagined myself to be the next person who is going to be inventing superconductive material. And my ambition was to win a Nobel Prize for India and invent superconductive element. And most of the science students know how important an invention like that. I was born and brought up in a family where religion was not forced upon us. Nothing was forced upon us. We were born and brought up as free people, free spirit. So my father was a strong, had a strong social values, and my mother was from a very strong, staunch Muslim believer and who prayed 5 times namaz and all that. But nothing was forced upon us. My father believed that you will not study by paying donation to anybody. You will study on your own. If anything is destined to you, and if it comes within the reach of your ability and your knowledge and reachability, you pick up and choose and go. So I finished my BSc in physics with the high first class, but 150 students pass out of Kerala University. There are 15 seats under the Kerala University for masters, and obviously, because I chose Malayalam as my second language, I can't score much marks in Malayalam. So you fall short of 5 or 6 marks, and you didn't get admission very much. My mother said, maybe you can pay some donation and get admission. And my father said, no. And I stood by it. I thought that's a principle that he has taken, and it is very essential that we pass on value to our kids. So I stood by that, and I had nothing else to do. So I joined for law. I thought law is also a noble profession. Then I thought I would be someone like Nani Parkiwala, who was one of the biggest lawyers of the country, who fought for legal system and justice to the poor and the needy, and also in his own way, his own right. He was a very high authority on Constitution of India. And then if I want to be anything, the least I want to become a judge of the Supreme Court. That was my other ambition. Then during the course of my law study, a couple of my friends who came across to me and said, there's a course in Film and Television Institute of India, which is on sound engineering. The basic, course that you need is BSc in physics or electronics. So I thought maybe continuation of my study, my physics, I would like to study sound. So I applied, I got into the All India entrance, and I went to the film school. For the first time, I come across something I really, really loved, something I really, really liked, something I really, really want to. And I didn't get admission in the first year because I was trying to impress the interview board. And I came back, but failure is sometimes the biggest stepping stone for something that you are going to achieve. Because failure actually makes you realize that what is your shortfall. When you fall, you get up and you learn to walk. So I continued with my law, then I came back, again I applied for Film and Television Institute of India. And I came in there with no pressure. Because I knew if I don't get an admission there, I will go back to my law. And I have a bigger plan. I have plan B ready. I think it was important for me to be there back again with free mind, with no pressure on me. So I scored high marks. I got first rank and I got in. And then this whole pressure came onto me as to I have to break it into my parents that where am I going. So I told my parents that I get central government scholarship and I get state government scholarship, which is essentially nothing. It's 500 rupees and 300 rupees, total 800 rupees you need per month to study. I thought I can live with that. So I made a plan for myself and I told my father that I'm going to pursue something that I like. Father was obviously against it, and as always, mothers are your best buddy. So go to her, she hold you around, she believes in you. That's the beauty of mothers. Whatever you do in life, wherever you go, she believes you because she gave birth to you. And the first person that thinks there is truth in you is your mother. So she said, you go ahead. Anyway, I don't like lawyers. They wear a black coat and they look like crows to me. They lie, so she never liked people lying. So she said, go, you study. And I came to the Film Institute, which was the first shock of my life. At the institute, I met people from other parts of the country. First time I met a person from Bengal, first time I met a person from Oriya, first time I met a person from Delhi, from other parts of India. They were my brothers and sisters. But I realized that I can't talk to them. The language that I speak, the language that I know, the language that I understand is not something that I'm not able to communicate myself. For the first time in my life, I felt all the education that I got is worth it. Everything that you have learned is of no use. Because I haven't studied in the real sense of the term. I have passed the examinations, I got 5 marks. But I was put in a situation where I had no means to communicate with my people. Well, the first kind of an exercise that has been given to us from the film school was to take all of us to a market nearby, and they asked us to sit and watch people. And if tomorrow if you have to make a documentary film about that space, then you sit and watch people and watch everything, then you make a small documentary script about it. All my friends were roaming around and talking to people in the market, and I had no way to communicate with them. So I sat in one corner and I thought, and I started looking at people. Then I started looking at what kind of clothes they were wearing, what kind of style they were wearing, what kind of shoes they were wearing. Then I started making my notes. Then I realized, I realized that I was making anthropological information about that given space. So I realized the true meaning of education is actually the true meaning of learning language. I tell you about a book which is one of my very, very favorite book. It's a book called A Letter to My Teacher, which was written by 11 students from primary to the high school students, led by a priest in Italy, which sort of brought in a revolution, education revolution in Europe. Because this priest realized that the education system in Europe at that time, early 80s, he realized that it was creating two kinds of society. And they did an analysis with the help of the students over many years, and they submitted a report to the Supreme Court. And the report is the book, and the book is called A Letter to My Teacher, in which it has been described as the main focus, which to me is the ultimate value of any education, is that you can achieve equality. As a society, we can strive for equality. We have political equality because every vote that we make is one, and the value of the vote is one, so we have political equality in a way. Economic equality is something that we strive for as a political system, which I don't think we'll ever be able to make it. But one equality we can achieve easily is that if me and you, the haves and the have-nots, are able to express his own feelings without any obstruction, if he's able to communicate oneself without any obstruction, without any emotional disparity, we can achieve equality. That is through language. If one is able to understand one another, this society can change. Every disparity that you see today will change if we as a society can communicate each other without any obstruction. That was the gist of the entire report, and the entire education system was revived with that book. That is what I learned in my first year of the film school. Something that I should have learned in a school, in my primary school, or in a lower primary or upper primary school. Our education system is so integrated in a way to create competitive people, which again divides society in further and further and further. If we had, a coherent system where all of us are able to communicate one another without any disparity, we would have been a much better society. So I studied 3 years in Film and Television Institute of India, and I studied art. Cinema is an amalgamation of many other arts, be it music, architecture, painting, everything. And I have learned something that I have never seen. I have learned things over 3 years, which became a kind of touching stone of my life. The 3 years that I spent in the film school is a separate rock-solid island of my life. I became a better human being. I saw life in India, outside each of the states of India, each of the country, whether it is Eastern Europe or Russia or anywhere. The films from all of the countries have showcased the people and emotion and cultural ethos in front of us. And I learned cinema as a medium of art. I learned cinema as a language. And I come back to the industry, where Indian film industry didn't require someone like me, who is a trained person. If learning how to get by with the fellow Indians was my first struggle, coming out of the institute, walking into the professional field was my second struggle. Because there I realized that nobody needed you. An industry didn't require me. And as a person who was studying, I always remember what Swami Vivekananda has taught. One of his teachings says, if all the education that you have got, if it doesn't come into the use of the less privileged, your education has no use and no value. And I strive with my knowledge in the industry to create my need. I think as each individual, each one of you tomorrow when you walk out of the school with structured knowledge and structured education that makes you a better professional, you are walking out into society and the society says that they don't need you. Then what does education do to you? Do you need this education at all? I would say yes to me. Because it was my responsibility as an educated person to create my need in the industry. A decade and a half of my film school, looking back at the work that I have done, looking back at the achievement that accidentally or not inaccidentally come across to me, I realized that yes, I have made a difference. My dear little boys and girls, this is what I would say. It is your responsibility to create the need of you in the society. It is your responsibility to create a little India within your heart. It is your responsibility to be a better son, a better brother, a better husband, a better wife, a better sister, then to be a better professional. Because when you become a better human being, you become a better artist. When you become a better human being, you become a better professional. That's what Mahatma Ji taught me. A frail man walked along the length and breadth of this country, wearing minimal clothes, stood against the British Empire. When he went to the Round Table Conference in 1930s, he said, your guns and artilleries are like kujilis for Indians. What has given him the courage to stand up to the British Empire and say that your guns and artilleries are nothing to us was a sense of fearlessness. That is what education gives you. If you want to be a solemn human being, if you want to be a sovereign citizen, what you need is fearlessness. And that fearlessness can only come from learning. Today, we are in a society, we are in a time where technological eruption, a volcano of technological eruption is going on. Every day, the technology is telling you that you don't need the faculty of memory anymore. 5 years ago, how many telephone numbers you knew by heart? How many names and numbers and addresses you knew? Today, if you want to know one, you'll have to scroll down your phone memory. In every sphere of field, especially in my field, my technology is telling me that I do not have to use the memory of faculty anymore. I don't have to create, I don't have to make decisions. Of course, the technology has evolved and helping us in a far superior way, enabling all of us to do far more precision work, be it medical field, be it science, be it anywhere. But it's also internally telling you that you don't have to remember anything. But remember, our country, India, is the only tradition in the world that has said sound is knowledge. Sound is memory. Thousands and thousands of years ago, knowledge is being memorized and passed on to generation as, structured words were organized in a particular form and being passed on to generation as oral tradition, as we known as Vedas today. Our tradition says, keep your memory. Memory is knowledge. Memory is togetherness. Memory is sound. Today technology is saying, you don't need memory anymore. You have n number of options available on your fingertips. On the click of a button, you have huge number of options available. You Google it, anything, you get it. But there is a difference. At the click of a button, what you get is information. What we learn here is knowledge. When you sit in the library and rummage through pages of the books and memorize things, and you stand around and speak and make your own attainment, that is your knowledge. I would make an appeal to my teachers over here that you have to understand, in today's generation is going through a far bigger struggle than what we have gone through. Because every day they are inundated with information. Every day they are bombarded with information. And they have to make a choice. It is the biggest duty of us today in the modern time, especially the time that we are living in, especially in the decade and a half what has been gone through in the technological revolution. The teachers have to be more considerate to the youngsters because they have far bigger challenge to understand what is the difference between information and knowledge. When you have knowledge, when you attain yourself, when you understand your own being, you become fearless. It's a duty of all of us impart a kind of strength to our younger generation to be fearless. That's what Mahatma Ji taught us. That's what everyone who has become something in their life has taught us. Be fearless. Tomorrow you walk out of this institution, there's so many choices in front of you. I would say, look back at yourself. Look at yourself within you and try to find yourself. Because you are the one who is going to make a change. The true meaning of education is to lead a path in you so that you can find yourself. Because each one of you is unique in your own way. Each one of you is special. Each one of you has a role to play. Each one of you has a path to create. Let that be the meaning of true education. Let that be meaning of togetherness. Let's not forget that that's the biggest lesson India as a tradition has been given to the world. On that note, I conclude this, whatever has been made out to be the so-called speech. Thank you so much for inviting me on the 75th anniversary of such a big institution. And Reverend Father had spoken here in his speech that Don Bosco has given sort of an inspiration to call me here. I think that is an honor for me that to be called in here as a part of, a minuscule part of the kind of work that Don Bosco has done for the entire world and entire knowledge realm. Thank you so much, and I take it as a personally, take it as a privilege and an honor to being able to talk to the people of Calcutta. And I have been here many times. In fact, I've stepped on the streets of Calcutta. In 1993 when I came in here for the festival. The life offers so much choices to you in front of you every day. I came in here to attend my festival, International Film Festival of India, and I came in with a friend's assurance that we will stay in his house. And the first day we got thrown out of the house, and I slept on the streets of Calcutta near London. And I slept on the complex. My only wish was that I didn't see anything. I only saw films in my life. So the second day, I had a friend who has a palace next to London complex in Cannot Street. Mr. Durgapu's son, who was also my senior in the film institute. He said, come. One day I was in the street, and the other day I was in his palatial house with people attending to us, giving us breakfast and dinners and everything. So what I realized is that every day you've been offered a number of choices in your life. One day if you're down the drain, the other day you will be in a palace. And take it life as it comes and be a free spirit. Once again, thank you so much.